All right. Thank you for attending tonight's webinar. My name is Rashida Thornton, and I work with the Graduate Admissions Program here at Bay Path University. I am always a pleasure to introduce new stuff going on for webinars with our students and current students coming into the program. So tonight we'll be talking about cybersecurity career paths. And Dr. Kara Stevens has brought on some wonderful panelists to talk about the program. So without any further ado, I'm going to transfer it over to her, and she'll be talking to us and getting us started. Dr. Stevens, how are you?
Thank you so much, Rashida. Thank you for kicking us off and organizing the event. And I'm thrilled to introduce you in a moment to our panelists. But to give a little bit of overview for tonight, we have our cybersecurity leaders on our panel who will discuss their paths in kind of education to their careers in the cybersecurity field. They'll share experiences and industry knowledge, and there will be an opportunity for the participants to ask questions. We are going to do that through the chat feature. So if you have questions as we go along, feel free to type them right into the chat and we will get to those. I have a few specific questions first that I will ask the panelists to kick us off, but don't be shy and ask the questions right into the chat. We'd appreciate that. So let's see, Rashida, I'm trying to move our PowerPoint. You may have to flip it for me. It doesn't seem to be.
There we go.
So just to give a little bit of who we are, and we'll get into that in more detail. We have our lovely host, Rashida Thornton, who is the Associate Director of Graduate Admissions. Myself, I'm faculty at Bay Path. Our panelists, William Berry, Tanya Hart, and Sean O'Brien. I'm going to tell you more about them, but just so you can kind of see the names before we get started. So next slide is me. I will be the moderator. So this is set up and designed to be a panel event where I'll be asking specific questions of the panelists, and they will jump in and share their experiences in a unique way and really in line with questions that you have and that I have and possibly Rashida has. But to give you a little bit of a background about myself, I've been at Bay Path for 13 years, primarily teaching in the business and accounting program. I am currently overseeing the cybersecurity program and really have been able to see these kind of interdisciplinary type overlaps with accounting and business and the need for cybersecurity. I think reflecting on my career path as an auditor, financial analyst, and where these elements, especially pertaining to information assurance, risk management, and I had been and am heavily focused on kind of the internal control environment surrounding information technology. You know, I can see how these skills really align with not just kind of a standalone cybersecurity career path, but it's really integrated into a lot of work that I think I've done in some capacities. So from the accounting standpoint, as well as kind of business overall, we need this profession again for so much assurance purposes. So next slide, please. We have our first panelist, William Berry. These are in alphabetical order by last name, but just to read a little bit about William's background, began his career at Sallie Mae as a computer operator and quickly advanced through the roles from network technician to systems administrator, eventually becoming manager of cybersecurity and disaster recovery. After leaving Sallie Mae, he worked as a network manager at the South Shore Hospital before being recruited by the government contractor firm as a cybersecurity specialist for a federal lab. Quickly rose to cybersecurity manager and later assumed the same role at the lab when hired by the government. His career included roles in cybersecurity at the U.S. embassies on the southern border as a maritime expert, and finally as Chief Information Security Officer at a federal agency. He led the agency to a strong award-winning cybersecurity posture and holds a master's degree in management from Cambridge College. So welcome, William. We will look forward to your introduction in a moment and hearing from you. Our next panelist is Tanya Hart. Tanya is a multilingual professional with 2 advanced degrees in economics and accounting. So really, Tanya, to hear your background with cyber and accounting is right up my alley there. She is obtaining near completion a second master's degree in cybersecurity from Bay Path University. She's passionate about cybersecurity with her 20+ year experience in global public accounting and financial consulting, spanning the financial and healthcare industries. She's an entrepreneur serving as a mentor in this industry and is a world traveler, tennis enthusiast, tango dancer, art instructor, and avid reader. So welcome, Tanya. I look forward to hearing from you soon. And our third panelist is Sean O'Brien. Sean O'Brien is founder of the Yale Privacy Lab, an initiative of the Information Society Project at Yale Law School, where he's also a research fellow. He's teaching artificial intelligence, creativity, and IP at Yale Law School, and developed the cybersecurity curriculum at Yale with Scott Shapiro. His New Haven-based startup, Privacy Safe, delivers a suite of apps for private chat, video, and film storage. Sean developed a Web3 and blockchain class at Yale, as well as hacking and cybersecurity at the Lawfare Institute, and was founding head tutor at Oxford University Cybersecurity for Business Leaders. His expertise has appeared in the New York Times, Wired AP, NBC, Popular Science, Forbes, and more. So excited to have you too, Sean. Thank you for being here. And without further ado, I'm going to get into my first question for the panelists. So I do have some of them on the slide. Some of them we'll wait to hear from in the chat. So if you don't mind, if each of you could really just give your own introduction of yourself, providing a little background about your pathway beyond kind of what I just read, but just hearing from you in your words, and we'll leave this up just so that we can kind of refer back to it. So I will start, if you don't mind, and I'll have each of you respond to this question. William, would you mind kicking us off with this question?
Sure, happy to. Welcome, everybody. I'm pleased to be here today. And let me tell you a little bit about myself and my pathway to my career in cybersecurity. So my background is, as I said, it's been in IT for over 30 years, about 30 years now. I started off as a computer operator, which was the very lowest you can get on the computer side of the house, just dipping your toe into the water. And from that time, I learned basically just about computers, how they worked, and worked my way up to network and systems administration, and eventually found a home in cybersecurity and privacy as well. And when you talk about cybersecurity, you're also talking about resiliency, disaster recovery, continuity of operations, and so on, to call availability. So I dabbled in all those for quite some time. And then I went to work for a contractor for the government, and working in a different type of cybersecurity called GRC, which is governance and regulations and compliance. And when we talk about compliance, it's compliance with certain rules, statutes, regulations, and so on, all within the intent of building a strong security posture. And basically from there, I did some more interesting work, working around the world. Actually, I was going to say the country, but around the world in different embassies. I worked on the Mexican borders. I worked in maritime ports, all doing risk management. Because what happened over the years, cybersecurity went from just being a standalone function of net system engineering, system networking, network engineering, and so on. And all of a sudden, everybody said, "Hey, there's a risk in everything. So let's make a new a new category and call it risk management. And that's what cybersecurity is today. Cybersecurity is risk management with different bits of different elements of cybersecurity built into it, but it's all about the risk. And so that's where I am today. And I became a Chief Information Security Officer for a federal agency, and I have a staff of a bunch of people who do all things related to risk, from systems engineering to compliance and governance to privacy management, to privacy analyst, network engineering, and so on. So that's who I am today, and I'm happy to talk about whatever you'd like to talk about in cybersecurity. Back to you, Carol.
So much. Thank you. Tanya, would you mind sharing a little bit more about yourself as well?
Sure, Kara. How much time do I have for this one?
So we'll stay on the first question. Rashida, if you don't mind going back one. So I have like, I think 4 preloaded questions. So I'd say like a few minutes.
Okay.
Yes.
Just time myself. And
Yes, thank you.
so hi everyone, I'm Tanya Hart. I'm a Bay Path University graduate and Masters of Science Cybersecurity student. I'm just about to graduate on May 4th, finishing up, like Kara mentioned. I'm new to cybersecurity. I was attracted to it in the pandemic while I was snug at home in a blizzard and heard an advertisement about cybersecurity on the radio. And I said, aha, this is my new direction, because I had just gotten furloughed from my 20-year career in the healthcare, not always on healthcare, but it was a hospital and COVID was changing the landscape. So I was like, well, I don't know, I want to do something new. And I applied to Bay Path. Actually, it was an interesting turn of events. I had applied to the State Department Fellowship for IT, and I read a little fine print that said it might be a good idea to have an academic background in this. So I applied to Bay Path. And so I got interested in cybersecurity. I couldn't start right away. There were lots of bumps, personal tragedies in my life that prevented me from launching into it right away. So I am fairly new out of 3 panelists in my career trajectory. And I'm very grateful to be on this panel with more experienced folks like Sean and William and Kara, and thanks Rashida for putting this together. But I can tell you it's a very exciting start to my trajectory in industry. All day today, I was with my professor from Bay Path at a conference in Chicopee, Massachusetts, at the UMass Amherst Transportation and Aviation Center, discussing critical infrastructure for aviation and transportation. My interest is in the water sector because I love water. And as someone who's new to this industry, I'm looking to carve a path to help folks with their water infrastructure. But I really don't know where I will land, so I'm keeping an open mind in order to find where I fit. I know the beach for cybersecurity is long, large, and sunny, and it has room for all of us because every industry needs cybersecurity, and we'll see where this leads. Now you know a little bit about my personal interests and direction in the field, so more will be revealed.
That's great, Tanya. Thank you so much for sharing. And the people on this call, the attendees, you know, are ranging from students or people who are interested in kind of career changing and looking into more education in this field. So it's great to hear your story of how that kind of came about, as I like to say, you know, in the career changing realm of things. So thank you so much for sharing that background. Sean, would you mind adding a little bit more to your background as well? I'm having a little bit of difficult time hearing, and I'm not sure if it's just me.
No.
There we go. Still a little bit off. Let's see. I heard you before, so I know it was working.
Click on your audio tab if you have any issues. You should be able to make sure it's under there. Can we hear you now?
Yeah, there's still a little. It's almost like it had a blurred, like I was hearing something, but it was a little bit staticky.
Yeah. I can see it because he has his open, but it just isn't
Right.
working. I don't know what happened. But while we're doing that, I guess one question I ask that is always asked, and maybe the students would be interested in hearing about this. As a student, what do you guys recommend when it comes to getting certifications or training programs that will help them in the cybersecurity field? And while Sean is getting that taken care of, maybe Tanya and William can answer that for us. Are there any certifications you think that students should go for or continue once they have their master's?
I can address some of what I learned from my classmates at Bay Path Graduate Program. So like Kara referred to, students are coming at all ages and from all backgrounds. Some have more computer background and experience as a coder or programmer, whereas others like me have none of it. Some have 10-year, 15-year careers in computer-based fields, whereas others have less. Some like me don't have any at all. So in order to take the certificate exams, sure, always a good idea. However, I did talk to some of my classmates who have experience in the field, and for them it's easier to take these tests and qualify and pass based on their experience. It doesn't exclude someone like me from taking the exam and passing for Security Plus or any other certifications. It's just that much more challenging or that much more time consuming in order for someone like me to catch up. But that doesn't mean that I'm less competent or less able to contribute to the field. I can just do so from other angles. And it's always great to have letters after your name, but that doesn't exclude anybody from being able to contribute in the field of cybersecurity, because there's so much to it that William already referred to, and Sean, I'm sure we'll get to refer to, and we'll get to hear him. Women are in demand in this field because our perspective with and without certifications is valuable and can be valued, if that helps at all. So I wouldn't get discouraged by the security test certifications. I would just have to come to terms with the fact that for some of us, we need more preparation and study time in order to pass this. And we really don't know whether that will benefit us immediately or in the long term. Like, it's not an immediate gratification process, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Right, so I think that this question with the certifications does dovetail into this next question that I had in terms of skills and attributes that, and it could be kind of those soft skills, more degree skills, technical skills, that you most specifically have found in your careers that have made you most successful. Are there just like one or two things that really stand out as those skills that have helped advance your career paths. I'd say for me, having this career path in accounting, I know the CPA certification was something that, definitely helped open doors and opportunities. And then of course the traditional organizational and type soft skills for accounting. But when it comes to cybersecurity, I'm really curious to hear, those couple of things that, if you think kind of back to the beginning of your careers, really helped open those doors for those next opportunities. And Sean, I'm not sure if, have you want to try once more? Let's see if we can hear you.
I'm happy to take this one. I'm just waiting to see if Sean, would your audio come back? No, it hasn't come back. Okay, so I'll take that, Cal. So
Thank you.
I do a lot of hiring. So I currently have 8 feds that work for me, 8 federal employees, and some of them are 16 plus contractors. As far as it relates to skill, I don't always hire the contractors. I hire the firm to hire the contractors, but I provide the skill set that I'm looking for when they go out and they find a person. I'm glad you put soft skills on your presentation here. They're very underrated. Soft skills and political capital, knowing how to get along with somebody, teamwork. And I want to, the one word that's the most important to me, I will not hire somebody unless they have a skill set and they've demonstrated a skill set to me in the interview, is an affinity for collaboration. Because cybersecurity is like a spider web. It stretches everywhere. You have to be able to talk to and collaborate and get along with people in all different departments, all different walks of life, all with different priorities than you. You have to make them understand that security is everybody's business, and the only way to do that is for collaboration and with soft skills. Now, that's not to say you don't need some cybersecurity skills as well, because you absolutely do. But for example, I'll give you a little bit of a story about one woman I hired. She came on a relatively low government grade. She was basically like almost like a little more than a junior person. She was going to be an engineer, a junior engineer. And when I interviewed her, I was taken aback by her confidence, by her directness, by the fact that before she went into the interview, she thoroughly researched the agency that I work for and was able to say what its mission was, what some of the key components of the mission consisted of. And if I asked her, so what did my agency do, she would give me a litany of all our mission essential functions that we are regulated by Congress to do so. And you can take that and you can apply that to any company that you're applying to. Before you go for an interview, study the company, study the organization, study whatever it is, whatever organization it may be, academia, government, state, private industry, whatever. Study it. Make sure you know it. So when you go in there and you can talk about, I understand that the primary mission functions of your organization are X, Y, Z. And here's how cybersecurity can help meet those individual, be successful in attaining that mission. So from a cybersecurity perspective, when we interviewed this woman, she was young, she was 23 years old. We were taken aback by her confidence, by her knowledge, but most especially when she talked about teamwork. She didn't say, I did this, I always did this, I accomplished this. She said, as part of a team, we accomplished this, and here's the contribution I made. Incredibly important, incredibly important. Right then and there, she had half a foot in the door of getting the job, just by saying that stuff. And so then my leadership is a CIO. So he and I interviewed her at I think that was her 3rd interview, because she met with my team as well. And he said the same thing by the time the interview was done with her. She's amazing, hire her right now. And it was about her, the thing that drew her to us the most wasn't just that she had some decent basic cybersecurity skills, but that the way she presented herself as part of a team and a cog in a wheel and how important the overall wheel is to turn, you need a team. And she demonstrated that, and she said all the right things that allowed us to select her based on primarily not just the cybersecurity skills that I just said a second ago, but the soft skills. The cybersecurity skills were okay. She had about a year and a half worth of experience. So she was just out of school. She had a job with contracting for a federal agency, and she was doing some governance and regulation stuff, basically cybersecurity auditing. Nothing major, but it was the soft skill. It was a collaboration skill, affinity for teamwork. That to me is far more important than a certification you get. If I'm hiring somebody right now for let's just say what do I need right now? Okay, I need a threat analyst right now. Somebody who can assess threats, break them down, apply intelligence to them, and work with the risk manager to determine what we need to do about those threats. So somebody said I have these 7 certifications. Okay, I think that's helpful. That shows that you're pretty smart, and you can take a test, and you can hopefully you can apply what you learned from attending those certifications. But I would want a threat analyst who said, I know these are the threats out in the wild. Here's where we find them. Here's where I assess them. Here's where I prioritize them. And I work in a team. You can work in a SOC, a security operations center, or I collaborate with the risk manager. I collaborate with the systems administrators. I collaborate with the program managers. That's more important to me, because the day of the individual contributor is slipping away, because everything needs to be teamwork these days. When you have a team, you can achieve a dream.
Yeah. Can you all hear me now?
Yay! Yes, we can.
I had to rejoin. So I'm one of these weird Linux users. So it's on my end. Sorry, folks. I very much am happy to be here. The program that BayPath has put together for cybersecurity, just in general, and the rest of the stuff around, cyber governance and so on, is really, really impactful and wonderful. So I'm happy to be a part of this. My experience is a bit atypical. I tend to agree with everybody here, surprisingly, but certainly, I've been in this field for about 2 decades plus, so I think my experience probably closely aligns with William's to some extent. I agree that the skill set and what you bring to the table, as far as your ability and your capability to collaborate with others is really important, certainly. I am not in the typical bucket, so to speak, for cybersecurity. I started out doing sysadmin work, running servers, doing websites, and so on for many years, and actually didn't really think of myself as a techie. So it took me a while to kind of settle into the idea, not only of kind of being a geek and getting into technical sort of mindset, but also into this thing we call cybersecurity. I'd say in the last few years, certainly, and definitely the last, 5 or 6 years, it's been very apparent to me the need for serious cybersecurity curriculum and controls and sort of approach it's necessary now more than ever, right? And really, the average person you meet is asking you all the time about data breaches, and password issues, and et cetera, et cetera. And it's not about just having that mindset, like showing the average person what to do, certainly, but you need to be the professional that not only can take that sort of common sense approach and then apply it to system, right? We've seen this week, certainly, that our administration, for better or for worse, has used unapproved channels for communication, let's say, and that's caused a huge amount of conversations, right? We can be the professionals on that front end right, who talk about these issues, who bring it forward in a way that's professional and say, hey, your organization is going to have this problem too, right? You're going to be somewhere in some org and somebody's going to bring in a phone and they're going to chat on some app that they shouldn't be chatting on. And by the way, they shouldn't have done it, right? We should have policies about it. We should think about what apps we're allowing folks to use. We should think about what devices people are allowed to use, in a specific space, in a specific context, and taking that mindset down to the servers, the machines that are on the network, and so on and so forth. Cybersecurity professionals are not limited to just being the geeks in the back room that just kind of hang out, right? It is now something that's on the forefront of everybody's mind, and it's really exciting from that standpoint. Everything is cybersecurity. Everything is privacy now, and that's something that's really amazing. We have the huge opportunity to be professionals in that realm and be on the forefront of pretty much everything that's happening. So I'm excited about it. I think it's amazing. I think that this field is blowing up and in a really positive direction.
So Sean, could I ask, how would a new student entering the field, starting a degree, start to think about these different paths? I think the programs that we're trying to design give some direction, but just in terms of, I guess, even these kind of skill sets and things, is there anything that stands out for, I guess, certain, some people may want to be at the, in front of groups and, talking more, and there might be, these other opportunities for more the behind the scenes. But what would be your advice, I think, as students are trying to think through these different paths? I think of internships and opportunities to explore different realms. And some of it's going to be, kind of trial and error, trying to figure out what is the best fit, because it is very interesting that this field is so vast, that it's not just, that corner office person, like you're saying, or, there are really a lot of opportunities for a lot of different skills and personality types. But just curious on your thoughts on.
In a sense, me kind of opening it up that way kind of makes it vague, right? So I'm glad you're drilling down. So I'm at Yale Law School, and the curriculum that we came up with there, I think, is relevant here in a sense. We're dealing with law students, right? And we've got folks who are not technical, right? And the way that we decided to approach the issue and make sure that folks actually understood what they were doing was by starting with basics, right? Even in this prestigious, area of Yale, whatever, these folks need to know that when they open an app, it's on a network, it's talking to the internet, right? And there are security issues involved, right? So when you're just starting, I think it's fine. Like, you shouldn't feel like there's this huge burden that's going to stop you from getting into this field. Even the most supposedly technical individuals who are getting in are still very much at a base level, right? And the way in which I think you can have some sort of entry level is by slowing down, right? Saying, here is the way in which I interact with people on the internet through technology, and here's what I'm interested in tackling. I don't want folks to think that there's such a barrier because guys like me or any of us have sort of created these walls and now we're all ultra experts and nobody can enter the field. There's plenty of room for people to enter sort of on the ground floor there. What it does mean is that you have to have a respect for that history, right? And have a respect for sort of those fundamental concepts. I find when I'm teaching cybersecurity that I spend a large amount of time actually teaching people basic concepts about networking, about how operating systems work, right? You can't teach people what ransomware is or what a rootkit is and what all these, kinds of exploits and operating systems are without talking about what an operating system is, right? And if I grew up, in the mid 2000s, I'm certain it would be hard for me to kind of wrap my head around it, right? I would be used to a world where I pull up a phone and the phone has apps running, and I don't know what an OS is. I don't know what's going on with the phone, et cetera, et cetera. So breaking down those barriers, I think, is really important. Even when I was younger in the late 90s and early 2000s, getting into networking and so on, I had a hard time wrapping my head around abstract concepts around like the OSI stack and all these things that Cisco was trying to teach me around networking. Trying to break that down to personal experience, I think, is really important. Folks need to kind of look at, hey, when I open TikTok, why is TikTok a security problem? Well, TikTok is an app that's running on an operating system that's talking to a network, that's talking out there in the world to other machines on this vast network we call the internet. And I hate to break it down to those basics, but trying to keep those basics in mind, I think is really important, especially when you're early on in your career. I find that even myself, I make mistakes by forgetting fundamentals. So those fundamentals about how an operating system works, how networks operate, how exploits can happen at those layers, the operating system layer, the network layer, the application layer, key loggers, things like that. Remembering those pieces is really important. We should not forget nearly 2/3 of attacks on all enterprises, organizations are human mistakes, right? And of those, approximately 90% are email. Okay, so we're still in a world where we can have the fanciest exploits in the world, but the main problem is just we make mistakes clicking on things because we get them in an email, right? And certainly folks who are new to the field can understand and wrap their heads around that. So don't be scared away. Try to learn the basic concepts, and hopefully, and we'll do our best to shepherd you through those sort of basic concepts up to the higher level stuff. This is not, I don't know, sci-fi stuff where you have to worry about being an ultra hacker. I'm not an ultra hacker, and I walk people through not knowing anything about these concepts, who are not technical people at all, to doing very technical stuff. And I think you can do that too. That's the important thing. Always be confident that you have the ability to walk through those things.
And I'll definitely say on the master's level, as far as the admissions, Dr. Stevens, I'll definitely say with our students coming in, there is like he said, not everyone has a background in computer informations or IT of any of that sort. But I do get students that are in the criminal justice. Shocking you should say that. I get a lot of students that are in criminal justice as a bachelor's degree that come into this program, or a business degree. And they're typically either looking to do their own business or work within the companies that they're in as far as the security measures. So I definitely do say we have that for sure.
Thank you for that. I wanted to just circle back to a couple of comments that Tanya and William had also made. With Tanya, something's jumping out too, how you are able to, in your thinking through aligning kind of this industry of kind of passion and being able to build that into this field too, because I think for me, thinking of cyber, I would be on that fence of like thinking maybe it is in that sci-fi world sometimes, where it's so technical and so difficult that, that barrier to entry might be scary. But Sean, thank you for kind of helping us think through that, and Tanya bringing your kind of what you were doing today to the table. And before I move to the next question, William, I wanted to comment back on your collaboration point, because I think for students, we think some of these skills outside of these technical skills are not something maybe that you can build as a student working at, wherever you're working. But I think that there is always opportunity to build those skills like collaboration, no matter where you're working in any capacity. So having that kind of thought with that being such a skill, I think, in so many different fields, but especially in this field where there are so many realms to the work. Again, just thinking through that students really can start building a lot of the skills in their current positions right now. So thank you for helping us think about that as well. I do want to make sure that we have time, if there are any panelists who would like to ask, or sorry, not panelists, attendees who would like to ask questions, please type them right into the chat. But I want to, and you've been sharing all of this with career advice to students, and I think that has been kind of the tone of the conversation, all of the advice that you can share. Tanya, I would like to ask you, as a new graduate with this degree, entering into the profession and even the event that you attended today, what is your advice? I think, we have people on the panel who have years of experience, but I do think there's still that fear of entering into a job in this field, going out into presentations and experiences like you had today. So what is your advice of, I guess, kind of overcoming that and really just as a new person in this cybersecurity world, that you've been able to continue opening these doors for yourself and gaining the skills? What would be your advice to the students who are not as far along as you in this education path?
Thanks for the question, Kara. Definitely intimidating. It's a male-dominated field. We are women, don't have, the certifications that many can proudly rattle off. And yet, I think in order to open myself up, I've had to check my motives. And that allowed me to arrive at that advertisement on the radio. It's literally an evolution, an organic evolution that brought me to this place on the panel today. If Kara hadn't invited me, I wouldn't be here. But if I hadn't enrolled in the Bay Path University degree program, Kara would not know me. And so putting one foot in front of the other and not knowing where I'm going is how I got here. And as you all well know, I'm still putting one foot in front of the other and I don't know where I'll end up. And I know it's highly intimidating. So the only way through this is to continue participating in campus sponsored events, surrounding myself with people at my university who are involved, getting myself a mentor. Now I know Sean and William, even if they don't want to know me, they already got an email from me to collaborate about this panel. So thank you, William. I'm demonstrating collaboration. But things like getting interested in, I think if I check my motives, I'll better know myself in order to further myself and open myself to choices and options, because otherwise I'm sort of checking off a box. And I just wanted to refer to some of the other speakers' points and Kara's invitation and Rashida's graduate admissions experience, that I got into this late in life, but children need to be educated and informed from now on about this. So the opportunities to grow and learn, educate, and raise consciousness is something that is not new. That's why we go to school. That's why we start learning this. But just like health education in school, this cyber education in school isn't there yet, but Sean's trying his best, William's trying his best. I'm interested, and I don't know where I will land, but schools and elementary schools, middle schools, high schools could also use this in order for all of us to get through this together, because it is here to stay. And I don't know if I answered Kara's question, but involving myself, examining myself, and learning are three things that are aiding me in getting to know you.
Mhm. And I like just the visual of one step in front of the other, that you can't learn it all today, but that you continue to learn and networking. I'm glad that you mentioned, the opportunity to now know William and Sean. I think that is a key piece too, especially when we're thinking about future jobs. I tell students all the time, you can go through this program, and I think, like you said, kind of check the box and move on and, gain some skills, sure, and a degree to add to your resume. But I do think that events like this, kind of seeing the three of you who are really doing this work and learning, and maybe hopefully the panelists don't mind, an email from potential network students and so on. But that is the way, I think, to develop and grow your career, that you can't expect to be in Sean or William's position tomorrow. That will take time and experience and a network of just different paths. And like Tanya, I like that too. You start a program, you meet, you now are on a panel. I think, are you presenting at Academic Achievement Day as well? So that's another Bay Path event where Tanya will be sharing some of the work that she's done as a cybersecurity student. So in the interest of time, I don't see any chats coming in. So I know attendees, may have questions, or maybe we're answering everything here, but I do want to stick with this question with just any further advice for these new students in the last bit of time. I wish we had more time because I feel like we're just kind of getting started, but I really would love to hear kind of just those thoughts, kind of like Tanya shared with her advice. William, what, in addition to kind of these skill sets, what advice would you have for these either prospective students or current students, or even I think these potential career changers or people who are already in the profession who may be looking for different career opportunities? Just any general advice that you would give to students.
So, I mean, that's a very broad question. So I would break it down a little bit. I'd break it down a little bit. So if I am a student or a student and I'm going for cybersecurity or just graduated from cybersecurity, I'm going to find, what do I like about cybersecurity? Again, I just used the word broad, but it's a broad field. There's many different elements of cybersecurity. What do I like most? Do I like the technical side? Do I like the audit side? Do I like the assessment side? Do I like the development side? Do I like the code? There's so many different elements in cybersecurity, but somebody finding what they like and what they have a passion for is going to bring them a couple steps forward more than just trying to force themselves into a part of cybersecurity they don't want to be in. But let's say somebody likes to deal with coding, so he wants to be able to make apps. So you can go online, you can learn more about what it takes to build an app and how can you secure an app. Cybersecurity component. Whatever you make, somebody will try to break. That is a tenet in cybersecurity. If you build something up, somebody tries to tear it down. So how can you build it in such a way that will make it very difficult for somebody to break it down? That is cybersecurity. So that's what you have to think of. So find what you like in cybersecurity, pursue that, and then look for what type of career would you want. Would you want to work for a large firm like Fidelity Investments, a small startup? they require different skill sets, but one thing they do all require is knowledge, ability to work with others, communication skills, which is very important, both written and oral, very important skills. You need to be able to describe things to people, and many times they want it in an email, so you have to be able to draft it in a clear, concise format. So in addition to technical skills, you really want to concentrate on your soft skills. And always try and do research before you get into something. Do a little bit of research so you know a little bit about something before you talk to somebody. Say you get hired in a company at a beginning position and you want to talk to somebody who's a senior developer. Well, know a little bit about what he might want to talk about with that person. So senior development, I'm interested in learning artificial intelligence as a corporation, a machine learning program, and so on. So basically, just do a little bit of research, have your skill set so you know how to get along with people, so that you know how to talk to the right people, so you know how to communicate, and then never stop building your cybersecurity technical skills, because cybersecurity changes and technical skills change daily. Technical, what's hot in the world is artificial intelligence at the moment. So try and learn a little bit of artificial intelligence. That seems to be the future for the next 5 or 10 years. It's going to be focused on AI. There's many different opportunities in AI for cybersecurity. Maybe that's something you want to look at. That could be everything from threats to coding to administration and so on. So try to be a little bit well-rounded. But really, one thing most of all is find what you're passionate about in cybersecurity and go for that component of cybersecurity.
Great
So,
advice. Go ahead, John.
Front, and thank you, William, for that. I just want to make sure I get in here. It's my own fault for having problems with my own computer, but these things happen. William, you've done a great job of sort of talking about the current landscape, and I think it's really important at the end there that you made sure you emphasize that artificial intelligence piece. I don't want to say I fell into this. It's not quite that way, of course. You know, I was working in the field, and then what I was doing sort of became what people call cybersecurity. And then I went after the certifications, and then I went after, you know, really realizing what it's like to lock down an organization and be the cybersecurity guy and be the CSO and the CTO and so on for a private organization. And I've worked with some really large organizations, ExpressVPN, and you know, these pretty big international organizations on that front. But at the time, there wasn't this thing called cybersecurity so much, right? We kind of, the field grew from sort of a basic kind of idea about information security into something that was much larger. You're 100% right, William. The artificial intelligence part is huge. If you want to differentiate yourself in the IT field, right? Cybersecurity is a great way of doing that, okay? These threats, issues around systems communicating with each other, certainly is the issues around artificial intelligence, generative systems themselves having security problems, all of the machines that are being linked together to do very interesting, very complex, solving problems which people thought couldn't be solved, which are now being solved at a much faster rate. All of that's going to require cybersecurity professionals. And right now we're looking at a situation where there's this so-called vibe coding, low coding, no coding kind of thing going on, where normal, so to speak, developers are sort of being pushed out by AI, right? But cybersecurity professionals are not. They will be needed. They will be necessary. And understanding these barriers, you know, the ways in which we can protect ourselves, the ways in which we can lock down information, the ways in which we can safely share information between systems, all of that is going to require some very serious professionals who understand cybersecurity, right? So if you want to get into IT in general, I tell people this is where you got to go, because being a low-level coder, a mid-level coder, or even intermediate expert in coding these days things are a bit rough, and that is not going to get pushed out. You know, those jobs will be threatened by AI, those coding jobs, but not cybersecurity, not privacy, not all these other aspects that we think about with these organizations. So pursuing a career in this at Bay Path is wonderful. Pursuing a career here and also trying to go after certifications, teaching yourself online, you know, that's not going anywhere. And I'm really excited in that sense. I kind of feel like cybersecurity is going to be at the forefront, especially as we get more AI and AI-enabled systems rather than less. So.
Yeah, no, I think that that is an amazing way to kind of pull this all together, that cybersecurity is here to stay. You know, it is, I really agree with you that the more I'm learning about the profession and the career paths and the skills, that it really is woven into so many aspects of so many things, and to be able to have the skills in a lot of different areas in this field are crucial and will not be taken over by AI in the sense of AI, but that we need to understand it and secure measures around it. So thank you for that. In light of the time, I do want to close the webinar with just thank you to William, Tanya, Sean. I know that you're extremely busy in so many areas, and to take the time out of your schedules to even just coordinate behind the scenes with us and share your expertise today and insight. I know I learn more, and I think I have a whole list of notes here that I've taken that I'll probably quote you at some point in the next couple of months. But thank you so much. And I just, again, appreciate the time and the insights that you're sharing with these students who are considering this field or in the field looking for additional advice. So thank you all. And Rashida, did you have any?
Just thank you for coming tonight and talking about this, because it's definitely stuff that students need to understand what they're going into within the cybersecurity as far as doing it. And I think it helps with me, because when I do meet with them on the admissions level and saying, you can come into this and have a background in any industry, they don't really sometimes believe that all the way, but to hear it from people that are in it and students that are leaving the program and they know for sure, yes, I can do this. Yes, I can go into the industry. This makes it even better, because cybersecurity needs to get a lot more of a reputation of people understanding. It is around a lot of things that we deal with and people don't realize it. And in America, it is a big thing versus in European culture and areas that it's not allowed in some areas as far as cybersecurity when it comes to stuff. So to see it here and to see how AI is coming in, I love hearing about all of this, and I thank you. And if any of the students that are on tonight, if you guys have any questions, please do not hesitate to email myself or Dr. Stevens. We'll definitely be able to connect you with the right information and get you connected to the right person to make sure you are on the right guidelines as far as getting the help you need, whether you're in the classroom or whether you need help in finding a job or doing your right?
All right. Well, thank you all again, and enjoy the rest of your night, and hopefully we will connect again soon. Take care,
Yes,
everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay.
And I am closing. Give me one sec.